All right, hey traders, TG here, and let's see, it's going to be January 20th, 2022. Welcome to the new year, and got things moving around here. Okay, so wanted to go over here, and we're going to be talking about the market today, spending about 20 minutes with you. And in the teaser that I had out yesterday, showed you that, hey, a lot of things are getting weak out there. The market is not looking good. I think you guys are probably able to tell that through your own trading and what's working, what's not working. And so we're going to dive into this and show you a little bit more detail about the things that I'm seeing, areas that are working to the downside, not working to the long side, a couple areas that are working to the long side, and kind of where I think the path of this is going. Now, where we left off yesterday, and I said, hey, I could see that price is here at the weekly 21, and typically that is support until it isn't. And so I do think that we're going to be getting a little bit of a bounce here. The other reason I was talking about that was because if we look at the daily chart, it's hard to kind of see here, but basically there is a gap between price and the daily 8 EMA. So that's showing me that things are a little bit oversold and that we're probably going to get some sort of bounce to the upside. Now, a bounce might be very, very little. I think there are two paths that this can go. One, we could actually get a fairly good bounce up here, but what I'm telling you is baked into the cake. The Moxie indicator here on the hourly chart is so far below zero that any move up to or beyond the hourly 50 is a false move to the upside. At this point, I'm looking to short bounces, and that would, if price gets up to or beyond the hourly 50, that will be considered an inverse trampoline move, just in the same way that it was considered an inverse trampoline move up here. Price, you could see, was up over the hourly 50. The Moxie indicator was below zero, and that thing got sold into and sold into hard. So just be aware the up moves are probably going to be false situations. The other thing that it could be is a bear flag. So what if this thing doesn't just jump right up here? What if it just kind of does some of this, trying to just get back to the mean? It doesn't have to be energetic. What if kind of all buying is out and the only thing that's happening is no one's selling anymore? And so we could just get a little bit of a move up like that before it rolls over. That would be more like a bear flag. And I've got a few tickers that I want to show you about how that looks. So just look out for me talking about bear flags. And then if we go over to the NASDAQ and we see what's going on here, and we'll zoom in out a little bit. And this was the other thing that was telling me that there might be a bounce coming, something to that extent, is if we look at the daily chart, we are at the daily 200, which tends to be support initially. It's probably going to find something there, a little bounce, some support, move up, maybe move sideways again like a bear flag. But you can see there's already some pretty good devastation, pretty good erosion on the weekly chart for the NASDAQ. I mean, you can see that that is clearly very different, than here where price has been holding the weekly 21. We are now definitely below it. So do keep that in mind. And then going back to the inverse trampoline move, you can see here that price was over the daily 50 and the Moxie indicator was below zero. That's an inverse trampoline move, and you can see the same thing here and there. So even if the NASDAQ, if it starts to bounce up a little bit, if the NASDAQ gets up here and starts operating above the hourly 50, the Moxie indicator is so far below zero, it's just not going to work. It's going to be an inverse trampoline move. You can even see that here too. Price is over the hourly 50. The Moxie indicator was below zero. So do be careful about those bounces if you think you're going long. And for the IWM, looking in through here, the thing that confirmed, a couple things that confirmed the resistance is we've been seeing price starting to get rejected by the underside of the weekly 50. You could even see the 8 is below the 21, so price was starting to get rejected by the weekly 21 also. And then more exactly, you can see just price ran right smack into the underside of a downtrending daily 50, and the Moxie indicator was very much below zero. And then more recently, you could see price right here running right into the underside of a downtrending hourly 50. So we're just seeing resistance all over the place. And then one other thing to note, I had a line drawn here. I don't know if I can, I don't think I have my drawing tool, but if we look here, there's basically a level right about there, and you can see we're breaking it now. So yep, things are getting weak. Now, again, could be a bounce, could be a flag, a bear flag, something like that, but this market's looking pretty darn rough. And if we go over to the UVXY, You won't see anything on the weekly chart. You'll have to see it on the daily and on the hourly. So what I have been looking at, let me kind of slide this over to show you the previous example, because I think this situation is showing up here, and I think this situation is showing up over here. When I zoom out, I'll show you what that looks like. But this looks like it's setting up to go long, and a big one too. I mean, this is like 50, 60, 70% moves on the UVXY. And what you can see is this previous one was an elf shoe. You can see leg, heel, arch of the foot, ball of the foot. There's your elf toe. You can see here too, leg, heel, arch of the foot, ball of the foot. And I think we're just getting ready to do that. And then if you look at the hourly chart, you can see that what it do. It came in right here and tested the hourly 50 and then pop. And you can see the Moxie indicator was above 0 also. So if we take that and we slide over to what we're seeing currently, what do we get? We get price now coming back into the hourly 50, Moxie indicator above 0, and I think it's just pretty much a matter of time until we start going up like that. So that's the UVXY, which is the leveraged ETF of the VIX. And so this is volatility. This is telling me that something's coming. So I'm being very cautious on the long side and actually looking at a lot of shorts. Speaking of shorts and speaking of those bear flags, let me show you BGFV, Big 5. You see it? So right here, this is a bear flag right there. So if you see, price came down and now it's just going sideways, 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 probably waiting until the daily 50 comes down like that. And it sure looks to me like it's just going to keep rolling to the downside. The 8 is below the 21, the Moxie indicator super far below 0, and the weekly chart has price below the weekly 50. The 8 is below the 21. I mean, this thing is just flagging sideways until it wants to go lower. And you can see also, you'll note a lot of things I keep calling out. The hourly 200 tends to be resistance too. So watch for tickers that are running into a downtrending hourly 200. That'll be another sign that price is likely to go down, as that is generally strong resistance. DKS, Dick's Sporting Good, and another bear flag. And you can see price is sitting on the weekly 21, and what it do, it came down to the daily 200, and it's bear flag and do a little bit of a pullback into a downtrend. So if you can see there, you can see that there's a downtrending daily 50 and price is moving right up into it, and the Moxie indicator is very much below 0. So it looks to me like it's just, again, a matter of time until this thing runs into that resistance and starts to roll over. Another way to be looking at that is HIBB. We've got this one, you can see same thing. These names are starting to melt down. You can see here it broke through its weekly 50, started to move down. And you can see here it's getting rejected by a downtrending daily 50. The Moxie indicator is very much below 0. And you can see here also running into the underside of a downtrending hourly 200. And even to get this thing going even further, you can see price running right into the underside of a downtrending hourly 50. Now, for a lot of these things, how I've been describing it is I think these things are deflating back to where they came from. And you think about what's kind of going on out in the world right now. We've had the biggest bull market in recent history. I mean, just everything went bonkers, and things that probably shouldn't be up went up huge. And we're starting to see a lot of degradation underneath. Not throwing ARK underneath the bus, but it is a good way to see what the small caps are doing, since they're so heavily invested in small caps. And it's like across the board that we are seeing. In fact, let me just show you. We're just seeing across the board the small caps are just having a hell of a time. And what I'm seeing is that this is just a representation of small caps and kind of the higher risk off type names, to where you're seeing that price is breaking below the weekly 50, then it gets rejected by the underside of the weekly 50, and then they're just melting down. And a lot of things for now, I'm seeing them head towards their weekly 200s. Now, maybe they blow right through their weekly 200s, but I can tell you that they're at least getting there, and that's something to note. And you can see here again, look at that price running right into the underside of the hourly 200 as another move to the downside. So some serious carnage that's happening out there. And not only are we seeing it in small caps, and we're really starting to see this in a lot of other names. If we look at, let's just say Google, for example, You know, now it's not necessarily in a downtrend, but I'd say its uptrend is over. It's at least going to be taking a break. I don't know how far down it's going to go. I'm not sure if I'd want to short Google, but it's no longer trending up. It's now sideways. It's flagging. It's pulling back. It's doing something else than going up. You can see before where it had a really nice trend. It basically held, you know, the 21 even up through here, and now look at this. It's breaking the 21. And then you want to see how about, you know, again, I'm here on StockCharts talking to you guys about the Moxie indicator because that's the indicator that I've created and that I work with and that we're selling on StockCharts. I'm here educating you about the stock market and how I use the Moxie indicator. We've seen an inverse trampoline move on Google for weeks. Look at this, price over the daily 50. Look at the Moxie indicator just living its life underneath the zero line for a long time. So that was something that I remember when Google was right here and people were asking me, I said, no, I don't think this is going to work out. I said, at the very least, we need to see price come back down to the daily 50 to even test it because the Moxie indicator is below zero. That's an inverse trampoline move. And then after that, it's mostly just been zigzagging up and down until it finally started breaking lower. So, you know, the inverse trampoline moves across the board. We're seeing all sorts of weakness. Things are not good out there. As far as perhaps a little bit of a bounce or some flagging sideways, well, Google, like NASDAQ, might be doing it right about here because it's probably going to be coming into the daily 200 as support. You can also see that there is just a level of price right there, you know, just some price activity to kind of act as defense. Now, you know, look for a bounce, look for a move sideways, but after that, I wouldn't be seeing this as much strength. So just be real careful about that. Netflix, it's been down to the dumps. I mean, look, it's given back all of that. I mean, all this coiling that it had and then it popped off, it's given it all back. It is some, man, there's some rough stuff out there. And look at this, right here into the underside of a downtrending hourly 200. I mean, it's across the board out there. You know, what we're seeing is the last areas of strength are starting to get hit. And this is some serious stuff. You need to really pay attention to this and be aware of what's going on. Now, again, we talk about inverse trampoline moves. This is this is how the Moxie indicator helps me trade, keeps me safe, or keeps me on the right side of the trade. Look at this. See how price is over the hourly 50? Notice the Moxie indicator never went positive. It never got over zero. That's an inverse trampoline move. And you want to see even another cool detail? Look at this. You can see that price went higher. Notice the Moxie indicator went lower. There's negative divergence. You know, if you're trading Apple, if you're trying to trade Apple longer term and you're seeing something like this and you're using the Moxie indicator, these are the things that you need to be looking at and be aware of and be like, oh, what is it trying to communicate to me? It's telling me that price is higher, but the Moxie indicator is lower? Well, that doesn't work. Something must be wrong. Yeah, something is wrong. Because look what happened. Look what happened right after that. That's the kind of stuff that I'm trying to teach and communicate using the Moxie indicator like this. And then you can also see here, that was another inverse trampoline move right there. And I think these things are just going to be melting down. You know, maybe we get some bounces along the way because one thing I like to talk about is that you got a lot of tree branches. You know, like when price is going up, it puts in levels of support in certain areas. Well, if price wants to start going down, what's it going to do? It's going to hit a tree branch, probably going to bounce a little bit. Then it's going to hit a tree branch, bounce a little bit. Then it's going to hit a tree branch of support and kind of bounce a little bit. And then a tree branch, you know. So that's what's going to be happening. So what you want to make sure is that you're not going short there, you're not going short there. You want to make sure you go short there. And maybe you take profits. And then you want to go short there. Maybe you take profits. And then you go short there. So you want to make sure you short the bounces. You don't want to be looking at something and saying, oh, yeah, that's totally going to go short, and it's going to bounce on you. Because especially if you guys trade options, that's going to kill you. So you need to make sure that you are shorting the bounces on situations like that. You know, just let me show you a couple other examples. Let's see, EGHT. Some of these things coming to mind as patterns that you need to be aware of. I like to call this one the slow bleed until it breaks. Look what happened here, just bleeding. It's staying underneath a downtrending daily 50. Notice the Moxie indicator, even though it's trending up, it's still below zero. It's still below zero. That's really what it's communicating to you. And maybe you guys are looking at double bottoms. Sure, double bottom, but you know what? A double bottom only works when it works. Otherwise, it's a resting area until price goes lower. And that's what you can see here. But really, the biggest thing you got to note on something like this is this slow bleed down. It's staying underneath the daily 50 until it just finally breaks and just goes down like that. Let's see if I show you this on the bingo. Look at that again with the hourly 200. You can see here it wasn't the cleanest, but look at the trend of the hourly 200. It's down, isn't it? So you need to be paying attention to that for the overall general move of some of these things. Let's see some of the other ones. Etsy, some of the high flyers that we had back in the day, they are getting demolished. You need to pay attention to what's going on out there. Why are the darlings falling apart? Why are the leaders falling apart? These things that were going amazing, they're falling apart. And look at this, basically ran right into the hourly 200, ran into the daily 21, the daily 50s in a downtrend. The Moxie indicator is just horrendously red, and this thing is just falling through the weekly 50. I mean, the weekly 21 used to be support, and then the weekly 50 was support, and now neither of them are support. So these things are just, they're getting demolished, they're deflating. I would not be surprised to see these things go back and go down to where they came from. So do be careful about that. Another names that have already really been hit, but I have a feeling they're going to keep going further. We look at something like Plug. Now there's a level here. You can see there's a level, and look, it's breaking. I think it's breaking lower, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Plug power go to the weekly 200, most likely. Now maybe there's a bounce, maybe it's going to get oversold and bounce, so you want to make sure that you get in the right area. But I do think that that is generally where price is going to be going, is back to where they came from. And if something like the weekly 200 is in the way, it's probably going to bounce on it. Maybe it's temporary, it might go lower, but for the time being, I think the weekly 200 is a likely target to hit. Blink. This is another one that I'm looking at, and I think it's going to keep going lower. If you look here, there's a level, and we're below it. And there is nothing. If you look left, there is no support until you get to here, and until you get to here. So Blink, it's at, what, $24, $23? I think it's probably going to at least 13, if not 10. I think that's fairly easy. And if you look here, sure, there's a little bit of a bounce. Probably a good shortable bounce on something like that. I think we know a lot of the other leaders that are getting hit like that, but I am just seeing these things all over the place. How about, I think Jets, if you look at Jets, which is the ETF for the airlines, for the most part, they're just not doing anything, so I'm not sure if I'd even really want to tackle them. But this could actually be a shortable opportunity, possibly. If these things want to go lower, this is about the place that you'd want to do it. Why? Because it's a bounce. It's a bounce and a downtrend. If you look at this, the weekly chart is running right into the underside of the weekly 21. Price right here is running right into the underside of a downtrending daily 50. And I have a feeling this is going to be continuing to find weakness, because if you look at the Moxie indicator, look, price was trying to go up, Moxie indicator's rolling over. So that's telling you there's there's weakness in through here. So Jets, the cruise lines, all those things, they're just not looking good. And so let's maybe talk about strength. Where's strength? Well, gold. And I've been talking about this for quite some time to my subscribers. And the biggest thing that I've been calling to attention with this is this regular trampoline move. You guys have been seeing this on this session. I've been talking a lot about inverse trampoline moves because things are falling apart. Well, here is a regular trampoline move. It was the Moxie indicator over 0 telling us that energy and all that stuff was positive, even though price was below the daily 50. So that is a trampoline move that's bullish, and we've been seeing this thing start to work out. And then the final thing, and my subscribers and I we're already in gold, we're in GDX, we're in these things. We've been waiting for this to happen. And you know what happened? Right here, a nice pullback into an uptrending hourly 50 with the Moxie indicator above 0. That is perfect. That is absolutely perfect. And gold started to move up, and I do think that, find the right entry, but I think gold is now starting its trend. And if you want to then look at GDX, I like to trade Nugget for its leverage. And I've been talking to my subscribers about this too. Let's see if we get that moved. And look what do we got here. So we've kind of been building a base here on the weekly. You can see it's been generally trying to stay above the weekly 200. And look at this, double bottom, Moxie indicator above 0. And then you can see here, price dipped into the hourly 50, going just below it. Technically, that's a trampoline move. Boom. This is why I call it a trampoline move, because it's like you just jump on a trampoline and it just shoots you right back up. Trampoline move. It's all in the name. So yeah, it's been working very well. We're having a good time with gold and precious metals, and I'm just looking for areas to add to it. So those will be good things. Other than that, I hope you guys have a good time. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I hope you're on the right side of the market. Please be careful out there. Cash is a position. If you want to do that, cash is a position. And if you want to be going short in something like a Roth IRA, I've been talking to a lot of traders about that, because I have 2 Roth IRAs, and you can't go short, in a Roth. But what you can do is you can trade options. You can buy puts, you can sell calls, or you can buy inverse ETFs. So maybe one way, if you want to short the market, if you want to short the NASDAQ, you do SQQQ, and that's a way that you can buy long and a product that will go up if the market goes down. So just take those into consideration if you want to be able to trade this market to the downside. But maybe you don't want to buy options. You can buy inverse ETFs, and you can buy leveraged ones. You can buy 1-to-1. There are a lot of options out there for you. So thanks again, guys. Hope you guys have a good time. Enjoy the weekend, and I will talk to you next week.
Hey guys, Dave Keller here with StockCharts.com. Thanks so much for watching our video. If you enjoyed it, and we hope you did, hit the like button right below. Also, we have so much new content every day. Consider subscribing to the channel. Just hit the subscribe button in the video or right below. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Have a fantastic day.